Hello everybody, Pastor Randy here. Just wanted to post a little devotional thought, maybe for the week here for all of us. And I hope that your days are good and you sense the presence of the Lord and His kindness and grace. And we all struggle from time to time, but it's the testing of our faith. And He helps us persevere. So wanted to just share with you a little thought here that actually came out of a Wednesday night class that we do, that I've been teaching on discipleship and looking at the individual disciples, what we can learn from them, what we know about them from the scripture and also from history. And so piecing some of that together, we did a study on the disciple Thomas. And of course, we know him as Doubting Thomas. I'm not sure that that's an appropriate title for him, because if we look at the scripture, he wasn't the only one that doubted. All the disciples doubted. And yet he gets labeled as the one who is known as Doubting Thomas. We don't hear a lot about doubting Peter or Bartholomew or the whole list. And yet they all had to come through a process to believe and have faith. So I want us to look at Thomas and see something in him that we can certainly emulate. This is from John chapter 7, starting with verse 1, and then also John chapter 11. So in John chapter 7, it states really clear that Jesus did not continue to travel about in Judea, because that is where they rejected him and the message and were ready to, stone him, run him off a cliff, and, take some action against him. And so he didn't travel freely through that area. But in John 11, we get the story of Lazarus passing away, and Jesus gets news, and he is looking to go and raise what we know as Lazarus from the dead. Of course, he has a dialogue with the disciples. They just think Lazarus is sick and sleeping, and Jesus explains, no, he's died, and I'm basically going to go and raise him back to life. And the disciples try to stop Jesus, because where Lazarus lived was in the region of Judea, where he was rejected before. And so I want to draw your attention in John 11 here, as Jesus is explaining to his disciples about what he's going to do, and that he is committed to go to Judea and see his friend. And so in John 11, verse 11, we'll kind of jump in there. After saying these things, he said to them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go to awaken him. And the disciples said to him, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he'll recover. Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought he meant taking rest in sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus has died, and for your sake, I'm glad that I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him. And now this is where Thomas jumps in. And we don't see Thomas mentioned a whole lot, but this is one place that it just stands out, where Thomas was at in his faith as they walked along being tutored by Jesus. And Thomas says to his fellow disciples, let us also go that we may die with him. So here it is, the landscape as Jesus is going back to where he was rejected. And the disciples, of course, committed to following the Lord, walking with him, learning things along the way. At this point, they are developing and continuing to develop their faith. But Thomas, who gets this tag later after Jesus is crucified as Doubting Thomas, I want us to reel back a little bit and see what was actually in Thomas and what God was doing at an early stage in his discipleship. You see, Thomas didn't just make great declarations or proclamations about his faith. He told his fellow disciples, if Jesus is going back to Judea where he's been rejected, where they wanted to seize him, where they wanted to kill him, let's go with him because I'm ready to die with him. And so there's action here. You know, Thomas didn't just say something. He had his sandals on and was ready to walk back to the region of Judea with Jesus. And I think it's something that you and I can learn in our life. There's places where we know the Lord's rejected, or we have been rejected because we are associated with him, or we have an experience with somebody who rejects our faith or our sharing the gospel with them or around them. And we think, gee, I'm just going to stay away from that. And understandably so. Jesus stayed away from that region while he continued to spread the gospel in other places. But he wasn't afraid to return. And what a marvelous fruit happened in the region where he was rejected, because he raises Lazarus from the dead. The news about this spread all over. But remember the declaration of Thomas. I will go if the Lord is going. And wherever the Lord leads you, he's with you. And so let's follow after him with the same kind of commitment as Thomas.